Tonight, a 6-year-old girl whose life was cut short.
This was a girl that I honestly don't think had the capability to have a bad day.
I just kind of made an imprint in my own mind that this is not gonna end well.
She had bruising throughout her body.
How did it ever get to that? There is no way to explain it.
I'm sure you have a side to tell.
We have a side to tell, but not everyone.
How can such a beautiful girl, living with familiar faces, people who should have looked out for her and make her feel safe, and yet are the one that destroyed her?
Meika Jordan loved to sing and dance, and she did it like no one was watching. At 6 years old, she had a very simple list of things that made her smile. At the top of that list, ladybugs.
She was a huge collector of ladybugs. I think it was honestly because she couldn't catch the butterflies. I mean, she would try, but they're, just a little bit too quick and stuff. At least the ladybugs, she could kind of corral them and be able to scoop them up. She was more of the aspect of, if I can catch it, then I can keep it kind of thing. So we did that for a while, but she was always under the impression too that, I don't want to keep it for too long because it might have a family and, its mommy misses it, so I have to let it go eventually. So she would always return them back once she collected them, keep them for a couple of days, and then she'd let them go again.
You're about to witness the most twisted, shocking abuse case ever recorded. A little girl's life stolen in a single weekend. A tiny, minor burn became a gateway to unimaginable torture.
When police finally learned the truth about that horrible burn on Meika's hand.
That's what happened. I burned her. Not part of it, but that's what happened.
She admitted that she had put Meika in between her legs, grabbed her one hand, and with the lighter with the other hand, burnt the whole palm of the hand for 30 seconds.
What kind of cruelty could tear apart a 6-year-old's world and leave her with irreparable harm? Even in an ordinary quiet Calgary neighborhood where parents stroll and children laugh, horrific violence unfolded behind closed doors. This could be happening next door to you, in a home that seems safe and ordinary. Never underestimate the danger that might be hiding in plain sight. A little girl with curly blonde hair, trusting her own father and stepmother, was subjected to a nightmare no child should ever face. She was living with familiar faces, people who should have looked out for her and make her feel safe. And yet, here we are years later, still asking the questions no one wants to ask. How was this allowed to happen? Who ignored the warning signs? And what was happening inside that home when no one was looking? Because this is not a case about loss, it's a case about silence. Her body bore third-degree burns, head injuries, and internal trauma so severe doctors knew it was no accident. And yet her abusers tried to claim it was just a fall.
Marie Magoon purposely held a lighter under her hand as torture is beyond my comprehension. But that was only the beginning of days of torture.
You have to listen carefully, because the audio is a little bit hard to hear.
We disguised Mr. Big's voice to protect his identity and credibility as an undercover cop.
She wasn't doing as she was told, and it was study Spencer, and Spencer would push her pretty hard. He was maybe there, and the kitchen cabinets were here. She hit the cabinet.
Okay. Probably 6 or 8 feet away?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was pretty far.
Okay.
At one point, Mary Magoon picked up a pillow from the couch and used it as an example to describe what she did to Meika.
Oh, I was just standing on top of her, holding her hand, and kind of more of a getting mad and shaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was on the stairs right because of me a couple of times and it was my fault.
She hit her head.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it bugs me that people perceive it as the Cinderella syndrome. Like it was me, an evil stepmother who hated Meika, and I beat her until the day I met her to the end because she wasn't mine. And it wasn't like that.
How did this hidden horror stay under the radar until it was too late? Stay with us as we expose every bone-chilling details of this case, and how investigators used an undercover Mr. Big operation to crack the case, the courtroom battles that followed, and the lasting impact on a community shattered by betrayal. We'll reveal how investigators reconstructed the truth and explore the life lessons this tragedy forces us all to face. But before we dive in, I want to welcome you all to this another crime episode. I hope you're ready for this one. And if you're new here, you're very welcome. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our amazing community, so you don't miss this true crime story that reveals life and death lessons for every one of us. Let us know in the comments the country you're watching from, and tell us if you've ever witnessed child abuse but didn't know what to do. Now let's dive in. This is the story of Meika Jordan. She was born to Spencer Jordan and Kyla Woodhouse in Calgary, Alberta. Her parents separated when she was a toddler, and they established a shared custody arrangement that allowed Meika to spend weekdays with her mother and alternate weekends with her father. Both parents stayed involved in her upbringing. After the split, Spencer began a relationship with Marie Magoon, who soon became Meika's stepmother and moved in with Spencer. Magoon attended school events and weekend gatherings, and custody discussions included her perspective. As a result, Meika divided weekends between her mother's home and her father's new household with Marie. At her mother Kyla's house, Meika lived with her mother and stepfather, Brian Woodhouse. They provided a caring environment where Meika's days were filled with bedtime stories, family dinners, visits to the local park, and weekend playdates with her cousins. Every Friday, she packed a small bag and excitedly headed off to spend the weekend with her father and Marie, ready for another set of routines, movie nights, and family traditions in their separate home. Meika was an energetic 6-year-old with an infectious smile. She loved playing hopscotch on the sidewalk and drawing crayon pictures for her mother, gifting homemade cards. At school, she joined friends for tag during recess, laughed at simple jokes, and collected stickers. Her evenings included reading picture books with Brian, and weekends brought new adventures as she explored her father's neighborhood, making friends on every corner. She also adored her stuffed bear and practiced cartwheels. It's heart-wrenching to consider how a child so adored by her mother, father, and stepfather could have been entrusted to two adults who ultimately caused her unimaginable suffering. Community members were stunned by the revelation that such cruelty happened within a family that appeared loving and normal, shocking neighbors nearby. From Monday through Friday, Meika stayed with her mother, Kyla, attending kindergarten and enjoying evenings with Kyla and stepfather Brian. Each Friday afternoon, Brian drove Meika to her father's home for the weekend. Spencer and Marie welcomed her every Friday evening, returning her Sunday night. This alternating pattern ensured both parents had regular involvement. Meika's weekends typically included outings to the park or movie nights with Spencer and Marie, while weekdays involved homework and family dinners at her mother's house. One Thursday evening, Spencer called Kyla to say Meika had a small burn on her hand and needed extra care. He asked if Meika could stay with him through Monday so he and Marie could treat it. Trusting Spencer's description, Kyla agreed without hesitation, believing this brief extension was in Meika's best interest. Spencer insisted the injury was minor, just a quick flame on a stovetop, and promised to send pictures, although none ever arrived until Meika was already in their care. Over the next 24 hours, there were no phone calls from Spencer updating Kyla on Meika's hand. No messages asking for advice or expressing concern. As Saturday passed, Kyla assumed Meika was resting comfortably. Meanwhile, Spencer and Marie maintained a calm front when neighbors watched them on their porch. No raised voices, no sudden trips to the store for medical supplies. The world around them went on as usual, completely unaware that all was far from normal inside that home.
911 for what city?
Calgary.
Do you need fire, police, or ambulance?
Ambulance. My daughter fell down the stairs, and she's not there. She's not conscious.
Okay, I have help on the way. Just stay on the line. How old is she?
She's 6.
6? Is she awake?
No.
Pardon?
No.
No? Is she breathing?
No, I don't think so.
Several neighbors had noticed Marie's uneasy demeanor around children. She rarely smiled when Meika was present and seemed tense at backyard barbecues. Nothing about her behavior screamed alarm, since she would greet passers-by politely and stay quiet. Occasionally, neighbors saw Meika with slight bruises on her arms, but assumed it was playground mishaps.
Police finally learned the truth about that horrible burn on Meika's hand.
That's what happened. I burned her. Not part of it, but that's what happened.
She admitted that she had put Meika in between her legs, grabbed her one hand, and with the lighter with the other hand, burnt the whole palm of the hand for 30 seconds.
No one connected those dots with Marie's stiff posture or the way she flinched when Meika ran past. Only in hindsight did these small signs hint at a deeper threat. Meika ran across the yard to hug her father the moment she arrived. Spencer greeted her with a warm smile, Marie offering a brief nod. Meika's eyes sparkled with excitement. She couldn't wait for weekend movies and board games. Everything felt familiar and loving as they led her inside for dinner. Saturday morning began like any other. Meika played quietly in the living room while Marie brewed coffee in the kitchen. But soon Spencer appeared, accusing Meika of talking back. He forced her to run laps up and down the stairs, her small legs trembling as he watched. Later, with neither apology nor explanation, Marie took a lighter to Meika's palm, creating a jagged burn pattern. Meika screamed as hot pain seared through her hand, her sobs echoing off closed doors. Furniture thumped as Marie dropped the lighter. Meika's frantic please stop, it hurts, went unanswered, swallowed by the house's oppressive silence. By Sunday afternoon, Meika's frightened face mirrored her bruised body. Spencer struck her head repeatedly, each blow echoing like a drumbeat in the silent house. Later, he targeted her abdomen, landing fists that tore at her insides. Meika's whispered pleas of money, it hurts, barely reached their ears. Marie watched from the corner, expression cold and unyielding. With every strike, Meika's vision blurred. She felt weightless, unable to understand why her own family betrayed her. Though her body shook with pain, the adults remained unmoved, treating her agony as if it were inconsequential, a mere chore to finish before evening. Late Sunday night, Meika slumped against the foot of the stairs, unable to rise. Her breathing was shallow, eyes barely open as her small chest heaved. Spencer and Marie dialed 911, claiming she had fallen. Reality, she lay motionless, her body the site of irreversible damage no one could deny. Through the blur of pain, Meika struggled to understand why those she trusted inflicted such suffering. Each strike shook her world, and she clung to fleeting thoughts of her mother at her other home. Her small body trembled in fear, but her heart pounded louder than her cries. Every corner of the house felt hostile, and the warmth she once knew vanished. She wondered if she would ever laugh at cartoon characters again or feel the comfort of bedtime stories. In those final hours, terror and confusion completely overwhelmed her innocence as darkness edged closer to claiming her tiny life. Paramedics on scene arrived. They found her hair matted, body limp, and breathing shallow. They noted bruises on her small arms and a burned palm. Immediately alarmed at the discrepancy between injuries and the so-called accident, the ambulance raced to Alberta Children's Hospital felt endless as Meika lay unconscious on a gurney, monitors beeping around her. Emergency doctors and nurses sprang into action, realizing these were catastrophic injuries inconsistent with a simple fall. A third-degree burn covered her palm, while CT scans revealed multiple head contusions. Further examination showed a lacerated pancreas and a torn liver. Bruises covered her tiny torso, legs and back, each telling a story of repeated blows. No one could reconcile a staircase tumble with such internal trauma. The team immediately notified child protection and law enforcement before beginning life-saving measures. In the trauma bay, doctors exchanged looks of disbelief. "We've never seen injuries like this in a 6-year-old, one pediatric surgeon murmured. Nurses documented a third-degree burn, multiple bruises at various stages of healing, and severe head trauma. A child protection nurse, voice trembling, declared, "This cannot be an accident." Hospital staff worked frantically to stabilize Meika, placing tubes and lines while specialists prepared surgical options. Tears welled in some eyes as family services representatives gathered in the corridor. The gravity of her condition and the glaring injustice felt by every medical professional underscored the urgent need for answers. As word spread through the hospital, child and family services workers arrived to interview the teen. Police were summoned to gather statements for inconsistencies in Spencer and Marie's account. Investigators examined Meika's documentation, emergency room notes, x-rays, and doctors' assessments. Each detail deepened suspicions, as no doctor could reconcile the injuries with a simple fall. Detectives secured photos and medical records as evidence. By dawn, the Calgary Police Homicide Unit had been notified. Officers taped off the Jordan home to collect physical evidence. The investigation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same for Meika's family or community. When emergency room doctors declared Meika's injuries inconsistent with an accident, the Calgary Homicide Unit formed Operation SASH, Safe and Sound in Heaven. Their mission: investigate what appeared as a domestic mishap and uncover any hidden violence. Led by homicide detectives, they prepared to challenge every claim until the truth emerged. The forensic team meticulously catalogued every bruise, laceration, and contusion on Meika's small body. They photographed injuries, collected x-rays, and reviewed medical records to document each trauma. Forensic experts mapped wound patterns to determine timing and severity. At the same time, investigators interviewed neighbors. Several reported hearing a child's cries through closed windows, but Spencer insisted it was just playing. Every thorough interrogation detail, from injury timelines to witness statements, laid essential groundwork for the case. Convinced that direct evidence was limited, detectives opted for a controversial Mr. Big Sting operation. Undercover officers built a fictitious criminal network, presenting it as an opportunity for Spencer and Marie to earn money and respect. Detective Riley led the operation, cultivating careful rapport by praising Spencer's toughness and offering him small tasks. Slowly, officers steered conversations toward the weekend in question, setting the stage for potentially incriminating recorded forced confessions to secure full membership. Mr. Big agents, posing as hardened criminals, praised Spencer's strength and offered him a role in the organization. They hosted gatherings, where Marie joined, offering drinks and camaraderie to build rapport. At one meeting, Spencer recounted disciplining Meika, describing how he made her run laps. Marie supported his account, recalling the burn on Meika's palm as a punishment lesson. These revealing moments deepened trust, allowing agents to gather incriminating details about the weekend's true events. Officers recorded Spencer admitting he struck Meika's stomach repeatedly until she collapsed, and separately captured Marie confessing she used a lighter to burn Meika's palm. These video and audio recordings contain specific details of each act of cruelty, including dates and times. Their admissions included how they forced Meika to run and why they believed she deserved punishment. With every word, the sting operation solidified the case, directly contradicting their claims of a simple accident. These taped confessions became the keystone evidence in court. Prosecutors cross-checked them with medical records, forensic reports, and neighbor statements to build a conclusively airtight case. Each admission matched documented injuries, leaving no room for doubt. Investigators finalized their charges, confident that the recorded truths would stand up under scrutiny. Spencer Jordan and Marie Magoon were charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors argued the murder was premeditated, citing prolonged torture and restricted movement. Meika had been confined to her room, isolated, and subjected to sustained abuse. The Crown painted a chilling timeline of escalating cruelty across the weekend. In response, the defense claimed Meika's injuries were accidental. They insisted she had fallen down the stairs and that their recorded confessions were the result of manipulation and pressure from undercover officers. Despite the defense's arguments, the jury returned a guilty verdict though for second-degree murder.
You know, it's not what we were hoping for. We pushed for first degree from the beginning. We knew it was going to be a really long, hard road to get to. You know, second degree isn't what we wanted, but ultimately, guilty is guilty.
Justice for Meika!
The judge stated that while the evidence proved intent to kill, the legal threshold for unlawful confinement had not been sufficiently met. Both received automatic life sentences, with parole eligibility set for 17 years 2042. Unsatisfied with the outcome, the Crown filed an appeal, arguing that the evidence clearly demonstrated unlawful confinement. Meika had been kept in a locked bedroom, unable to leave, and was only brought out for punishment. The Alberta Court of Appeal agreed. They found the evidence of confinement compelling, particularly the fact that Meika's movements were tightly controlled during the final weekend of her life. In December 2016, the court upgraded both convictions to first-degree murder. The consequence was immediate. Parole eligibility extended to 25 years. Spencer and Marie would now serve life sentences with no chance of release until 2040 plus 8 years. Spencer and Marie's legal teams appealed to the Supreme Court of Canada. The central question: did the evidence truly meet the legal criteria for unlawful confinement? During the hearings, justices reviewed hours of medical testimony, behavioral evidence, and witness statements. They examined whether Meika had any freedom of movement, or if her isolation was part of an intentional pattern of control. In April 2018, the court delivered a unanimous decision. The confinement was real, prolonged, and directly connected to her death. The appeal was dismissed. The convictions for first-degree murder stood. With no further appeals granted, Spencer and Marie were locked into life sentences, no parole consideration, until a full 25 years had passed since their sentencing. Outside the Supreme Court, Kyla Woodhouse addressed the press.
Whether it was first degree, second degree, regardless, as long as it came down to a guilty verdict, we get our justice for her, and that's what we've been striving for the last almost 4 years now.
Holding a photo of Meika, her voice was calm but strained. "We finally got the justice Meika deserves," she said, "but our little girl is gone forever. no court decision can fix that. She thanked the Crown attorneys, investigators, and hospital staff who fought for Meika's voice to be heard. Kyla went on to call for more oversight in custody arrangements, urging other parents to trust your instincts, even when things seem quiet. Her statement closed with a plea: let Meika's memory be the reason we protect children more fiercely. In the wake of Meika's death, Kyla and her husband Brian faced a grief no parent should ever endure. But they refused to let that pain silence them. They attended every court date, listening to the details no parent should ever have to hear, all in the name of justice for their daughter. Over time, their pain transformed into purpose. The couple launched Meika's Voice, a grassroots foundation focused on raising awareness about the signs of child abuse, especially in custody-sharing households. Through school talks, community workshops, and online outreach, Kyla and Brian began turning their tragedy into a platform for education and prevention. "We couldn't save Meika," Kyla once said in an interview, "but maybe we can help save someone else's child." The Calgary community responded with shock, heartbreak, and fury. In the weeks following the trial, citizens organized candlelight vigils and public protests, demanding stricter oversight on shared custody arrangements. Local media covered the case heavily, sparking emotional town hall meetings. Parents voiced concern over the lack of follow-up when a child was reported injured. Signs reading "Justice for Meika" were posted in school windows and parks. The case struck a nerve not just because of its brutality, but because it happened in a quiet suburban setting where many believed such horror was impossible. It shattered illusions and sparked hard conversations. Meika's case became a turning point for Alberta's child welfare policies. In the aftermath, Child and Family Services revised their protocols. Any reported injury to a child, no matter how minor, during a custody exchange, now triggered mandatory follow-up visits and wellness checks. The government also committed additional funding toward training for social workers, emphasizing the need to detect patterns of subtle abuse. On the legal front, the use of the Mr. Big tactic came under renewed scrutiny. Some defense attorneys argued it could manipulate suspects unfairly. Still, many prosecutors pointed to cases like Meika's as proof the method, though controversial, could be essential in exposing hidden abuse when no other route remains. Meika's story reminds us that we must never downplay a child's injury, no matter how small it seems. A minor burn was the excuse that allowed Spencer and Marie to extend custody. But it was also the first clue something was terribly wrong. Trust is important, but it should never replace accountability. If a caregiver refuses to let a child be independently examined, that's a red flag no one can afford to ignore. This case also underlines the critical role of vigilance. Teachers, neighbors, family members, everyone in a child's life needs to be alert. Many children never find the words to ask for help. Some don't even know they're allowed to. Lastly, the use of undercover tactics, like the Mr. Big operation, continues to spark debate. But in Meika's case, it was the only way authorities could confirm what had been hidden behind closed doors. Justice, though delayed, finally came. Ask yourself, have you ever noticed a child with an injury that didn't sit right with you? Or maybe a bruise that didn't match the story? Would you know what to do or who to call? We all like to think we'd speak up, but sometimes doubt gets in the way. But don't let it. It's better to be wrong and act than to be silent and right too late. If this video opened your eyes, please share it to spread awareness. Hit the subscribe button if you want more true crime stories that teach essential life lessons. Let me know in the comments, what steps will you take to protect vulnerable children in your community? Meika's life was stolen, but her legacy doesn't have to be. Her story can drive us all to speak louder, act sooner, and guard harder. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.